Okay, I'm continuing on. This is my pre-calculus, what's my sine and cosine lab. I've done 1 through 4. I've done 2 to a video. This one I'm going to do 3, I think, because I've got them kind of done and I can just go through it. So here I have y equals cosine 2t minus 2. So when I looked at it, I see that it's going to be basically um, starting high, but you got to remember my midline is -2. So I kind of did a little sketch that if the middle is -2, then I'm going to, and I have an amplitude of 1, I'm going to go up to -1 and down to -3. So I kind of did that so I know how to sketch it. So my amplitude is 1, my frequency is 2, my period is 2 pi over my frequency or pi, and my midline's y equals -2. Because I'm not adding or subtracting inside the parentheses, there's no horizontal shift. There's only a vertical shift because of my midline, so I can just cross off my phase shift and my horizontal shift. Now, in order to do this, I take my period here, pi, and I'm going to divide it by my 4 quadrants, and I'm going to count by pi over 4. So I set up my table 0, pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, which reduces down to pi over 2, 3 pi over 4, and 4 pi over 4, which reduces down to pi. And notice I end with my period. And then I looked at that graph saying, okay, I'm going to start high, so I've got to start at 0, -1, go down to the midline, -2, go lower yet to -3, back up to the midline of -2, and then higher at -1. So when I went to graph this, because y equals -2 is a little bit below, I shifted up my y equals 0 line, just because you want to be smart about it. It doesn't always have to be in the middle. Then I kind of dotted this because this is really my midline for my graph. And then I counted by every 2, so if you wanted to see that. Also, I went every 4 and counted pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 4 pi over 4. Then I went through and just put all those points, 0, -1, pi over 4, -2, pi over 2, -3, 3 pi over 4, -2, and pi -1. That way you can graph it and you didn't use a calculator and you understand about trig functions. So that's number 5. The next one that I've already done as well is one that I've done with people, and I looked at this one. It says -4 sine t over 2. Couple things I noticed, it's inverted. That means it's going to, I sketched it, start at the midline, and it's going to come down and then up. Okay, so it's going to come down, then up. Then I looked at the amplitude saying, oh, it's going to end up going at 4, but it's going to come down to -4 first because it's inverted. Then I wrote the t over 2 as a half t so that I can see my frequency better. Okay, so I came down and say, all right, my amplitude's 4, my frequency is 1/2, and I noticed, I'm going to skip that period in a minute, that my midline is y equals 0 because there's nothing added or subtracted out on the outside or in the inside, so that's smack dab in the middle. To do my period, I did 2 pi over my frequency. 2 pi over a half is like 2 pi times 2 over 1, so that's 4 pi. So that should make sense to you that if I only see half of it, it's going to take me twice as long to see the whole curve. So I crossed off the phase shift and horizontal shift because there's not going to be one. I went up to my period here and said I got to divide it by my 4 quadrants, so I'm going to count by pi. And I did 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. And then I went through and said, okay, I'm going to start at the midline. It's been inverted, so I'm going down to -4, back up to 0, up to +4, and 0. So I've got my points all set. Again, this is your graph. You just have a grid there, so use it all. I kind of skipped every 2 and counted by 1, so you have to show me your units, and there's up to 4. I went -1 all the way down to -4. Then I skipped 4 to count just to make my graph use it larger so it's not a little tiny graph. So I counted by pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and 4 pi, and then I went through and graphed all those points so it looks like an inverted sine curve. And that's how you would do that one as well. So I hope going through step by step like this explains to you how you can sketch one graph. Because if you were to just put this in your calculator, you're going to get a bunch of lines and you're not going to understand curves and you're like, what does that mean? I am going to do one more on this one because I've got it graphed already, and that's number 7. This one, again, doesn't have anything inside or outside added or subtracted, so I know my midline's y equals 0 and there's no phase shift or horizontal shift. I will be doing graphs like that, but this one isn't. Then I looked at it and said, oh, this is inverted because of the negative. cosine starts high, so this is going to start low. And since the amplitude is 20, wow, they really stretched this one. I'm going to start at negative 20, go up to positive 20. So I just kind of did a little sketch of what this is going to look like. So again, my amplitude is 20, my frequency is 4 pi, my period is 2 pi over 4 pi, or 1/2. So I see the whole thing in 1/2. And again, my midline is y equals 0. I take my period, divide it by 4 to see, okay, what am I going to count by? And 1/2 divided by 4 is 1/8. So that's what I counted by. So I set up my table: 0, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8. I just reduced down as I went along. Then I use my little picture here. Oh, I'm going to start low, come up to the midline, go up high, back to the midline, go down low. Now this one, again, I have just a plain grid as I counted by 5s. Again, your graph, your choice. Just make sure you explain to me what you're going to do. And not every line has to be 1. So I'm counting by 5s to get up to 20 because I knew I had to, and down to negative 20. Then I skipped 4 blocks again to do count by 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, and 4/8. And then I went through and graphed my points: 0, negative 20, 1/8, 0, 1/4, 20, 3/8, 0, and 1/2, negative 20. So I hope this is helping you, because this means more to me than if you just put it in your calculator. And I think it should mean more to you that you can figure out how to graph this graph. Okay? So that's for these 3, and I will make more for the rest of this lab. I hope it helps.